have been many times where I've sewed a garment, and while I've been sewing, I've been watching a TV show sort of ambiently in the background, and the weirdest thing happens when I wear the garment, like could be months or years later. I have memories of the TV show just from the contact with my skin wearing the garment. It's like, especially crochet stuff, I think it's so like involved with crochet that something is happening where there is a link between my memory of when I was making it and the garment itself become permanently connected. So this has kind of got me onto this thing of trying to do this process on purpose. I listen to atmospheric playlists to get me into like a certain mood, because I'm trying to create a sensory experience to connect to the garment of clothing, so that when I wear that garment I feel the same way, if that makes sense. My favorite one for this is still the first playlist I made, which is the deep sea jellyfish one. That garment is like so embedded with deep sea energy. I also listened to that playlist while I was crocheting a baby blanket for a relative who was having a baby, because I think the deep sea energy is kind of womb-like, and I thought it would be like a relaxing energy to put into the blanket for a baby that has just come out of the womb and is going to be all wrapped up. I'm curious if you have ever experienced this when you've sewn or made something. It's not conscious, like it's always been an unconscious thing, like I can't choose the exact memory, it will just be like fragments that are attached to the garment. So I'm thinking if we work through all the senses, we can create a multi-sensory experience, starting with sound, which is of course the easiest to do, is to find a really good playlist. No ads, please, for your own sanity. You don't want to be programming ads into your clothes. That would be like really dystopian. Oh my gosh, I made a medieval dress recently for a party. I'll insert some photos. And I listened to like Dungeons and Dragons medieval, I listened to one that was like a tavern song, and it really embedded into the dress. That was awesome. You can also watch a TV show or a movie, especially if it's one that you've seen before, and you can kind of ambiently listen to it. A friend and I talk about creating like work avatars, which is whatever your job is, you create an imaginary world to exist in during that job, and the avatar that lives in that world. For a while I worked in a tool shop in a major like warehouse homewares store, and so I designed my avatar. She wore like a boiler suit, she had like her hair in these like spiky buns, and these welding goggles that you wear for like welding flash. That was my work avatar, and I felt like when I was at the job we were a part of this enormous machine that was like, because it's just such a huge corporation. So that avatar fit into that world, and she was like part of this big machine. If you've ever seen the Disney movie Atlantis, there's a couple, like the female characters in that show are so awesome. There's like, I combined a couple of them together. So Atlantis would be like a great movie to play in the background while I'm sewing. I really recommend a candle. Having some sort of flame nearby is really good company. It just, there's something about it, even if you're alone, if you have a candle, it feels like you're not alone. So I like to sew with a candle at all times. I actually have started buying beeswax candles in bulk, because now that I'm sewing so much, I'm just using so many of them. For taste, I mean, a cup of tea, of course. Like, you just can't beat a cup of herbal tea. There are so many really good flavors out there. Lately I've been enjoying Earl Grey, but I go through phases. Chamomile if it's an evening, or if I'm working on something sleepy, like the candle slit pajamas I recently did. I drank a lot of chamomile during that process because it helps you fall asleep. Blue lotus tea is very dreamy and relaxing, a fantastic one for states of inspiration. Comes from Egypt, but it grows wild as a pest here in Australia. Like every dam you see has blue lotus flowers. They have the most intoxicating scent. And blue lotus tea is incredibly relaxing. It tastes a little bit bitter, but you can add honey to it, or even honey and lemon to mask the flavour. The clothes that you wear while sewing are also going to have an impact on you. If you're, say, wearing a kimono robe, it could feel like a sacred, ritualistic experience. If you're wearing a suit or like a button-up shirt, it could feel quite professional. When I made the odalisque outfit, I spent a lot of time with a silver ribbon tied around my waist while I was sewing, or even wearing a full waist training corset for that sensory pressure on my body. And that had a huge impact on the way that I sewed, my posture, the headspace that I was in. It pushed me into a flow state because it increased my level of difficulty. I have a video about that if you're interested in that flow state stuff. If you're wearing pajamas, it's going to be sleepy. I wear pajamas a lot while I'm sewing. Sometimes you sew naked because you're trying on the garment, taking it off again, back on and off. And that's a very different experience too. The presence of another person is probably the biggest sensory change you could make to your environment. Sometimes I like to simulate that experience by playing a YouTube video of someone else who's studying or working or sewing. It's like we're doing it together almost. Kind of like the candle flame, I guess, like for a sense of company. If you don't have any friends that can sew, it's up to you to teach them. Thank you so much for watching, and thanks for your patience this last week. I recently got a full-time job in the fashion industry, which has been just incredible. I feel really lucky, but I'm also adjusting to a different pace of life, and as well as having joined a gym, which you will see more about soon because I'm sewing some gym pants at the moment, and I'll share the tutorial here. But yeah, suddenly all my free time has gone, so yeah, trying to find a way to keep the balance. But yeah, thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.